How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Supporters Club. You know what time it is. It's international break, so we've got to give you a couple Supporters Club. Make sure you subscribe, put the notification bell on, and let's get this video to 1,000 likes nice and early. We're going to discuss the last few games since the last international break, because we was here in the last international break discussing the previous game before then. I've got with me the legend Chris Hudson.
Right, so
all good?
Mate. Yeah, not bad.
And another legend in the building, Curtis Shaw. What are you saying, Curtis?
Good to be here.
Come on,
Happier times.
Big up you, man. Big up you on your channel as well, doing big things.
It,
Make sure you go subscribe to Curtis Shaw TV, people. I'll put a link in the description as well below. But he's here right now, so hit the like button and let's get into it. Curtis, let's start with you. Since the last international break, there's quite a few talking points which we're going to get through individually. But what have you made of the performances and results since the last international break? I mean, we've got away win against Everton, clean sheet. Then we've got that first Champions League win against PSV and the loss against London, Spurs draw, a Man City win. But overall, we are right now second in the table. Yeah. Only Tottenham above us on goals scored.
It's been a bit of a mixed bag. I think performance-wise, we're still kind of in a teething stage a little bit. I think, yeah. The results have been better than the performances, is what I would say. I think the Everton result was really good. The Tottenham game was a bit disappointing. You always kind of expect us to beat them at home.
Yeah.
We didn't put our chances away, and that's what happens when you play against, they are playing well at the moment. The Champions League is a bit interesting. That second game was a bit, did it shell shock us a little bit? I think they're a better team than we expected. I heard a lot of people saying, we'll walk through this group, and they were really up for that game. You could see it. 2 brilliant goals that they scored. But obviously the Man City game has sort of tipped the whole thing into our favour. We've all got that cheeky little smile inside us at the moment because we just beat them. And I think no matter how we won that game, we had to win it. I don't care if it was an ugly win, a deflected shot. You could see the reaction of Man City. We're starting to affect them, and that makes me think that they're respecting us now. I think when Pep and them don't respect you, they're just like, oh, whatever, you know what I mean? They walk off the pitch and just, but now they're frustrated. Pep was annoyed in the interview after the game, and Kyle Walker. So listen, I'm enjoying being a Gunner at the moment. I think we're moving in the right direction.
100%. Chris, I mean, the last international break, we entered beating United 3-1 at the Emirates. This one we've entered beating City 1-0 at the Emirates.
And with a deflected goal, a bit like a Charity Shield, so it makes it
we'll take another one at the Etihad.
I'm enjoying the clean sheets, Turkish.
Yeah.
I've got to tell you, I'm enjoying the performance. The Lons away one, that in Arsenal's DNA, I've seen so many performances like that away from home in Europe. Yeah. And we've got to cut that out. But other than that little blemish, I mean, you can't moan that much. I think it's been quite good. There's a few little niggles, the injuries, bit of dodgy refereeing.
Yeah.
And we still got the ongoing goalkeeper situation.
Oh yeah, well, that was one of the talking points I'm going to get into. But let's get into it now, because after the international break, it was Everton, Goodison Park, and we see Raya on the starting 11. And then since then, we've seen Raya in every game, aside from the Carabao Cup against Brentford, where Ramsdale played. Chris, you was very much the only Arsenal fan I heard this summer saying you want another keeper, you want a better keeper than Turner, more competition. Are you happy with what you've got so far?
Yeah, I am. Because the thing is, people, despite Arteta saying he's going to rotate, I think he's made it perfectly clear Raya's his number one.
Yeah.
But I do feel sorry for Ramsdale, but I just think he's that little bit. It's very minute, but I just think Raya's got that little bit better. But there is, where I am, I know there's a bit of diversion with the fans. There's a lot of people, like I was on Sunday against Man City. Every little thing that Raya did wrong, they was on him.
Nerves, yeah.
How we get Ramsdale back and all that, and I think we've got to get out of that. People have got to accept, whether you like it or not, he is Arsenal's number one.
There was a lot of nerves on Sunday against City. I mean, I was there at the game, and initially after his first, I wouldn't even, let's say first mistake or first time he held onto the ball for a bit too long, every single time after he had the ball,
and you could
sense the fans, you could sense the nerves, and then, it was hit it long and get rid of it, and what's he doing? But the reality is, you're right, a decision's been made, and I think Arteta's post-match comments about Raya
fella.
and taking responsibilities. And I've told him to do that. I've told him if he makes a mistake, go and do it again. Curtis, are you happy with the decision so far?
I think it's a case of wait and see, to be honest. I think at the moment it's not clear whether he is better than Ramsdale or not, in my opinion. I think he's calmer on the ball, and Arteta wants a goalkeeper that does that. You saw with Ederson at the other end, he's incredible with the ball at his feet. I think we have to understand as well, Raya's never played under this much pressure. You know, Brentford is not Arsenal. He's only had a couple of years in the Premier League. He was actually in the Championship and he was at Blackburn before that.
Yeah.
So he has got to acclimatise to 60,000 big pressure Champions League. So I think we've got to be patient with him. Arteta's made a lot of changes to the goalkeeper since he's been at the club. You know, it was Leno, Martinez, back to Leno, Ramsdale, Raya. You kind of would like to see a goalkeeper who, you know, settles and stays there for a few years. I think that sort of stability helps the back four as well. So, but I think, like Chris said, I think whether you're Ramsdale or Raya, I think Raya, he is the number one choice, and we've just got to kind of accept it and hope that he settles in for us.
Do you think this was always the plan? Because initially there was reports that he wanted Raya the summer that he bought Ramsdale.
Yeah.
It's the goalkeeping coach, isn't it? Who we got from Brentford.
Yeah.
So, you know.
So the plan was always to eventually bring
I think
in.
with that opportunity and the contract running out, he thought, you know what, this is my time. And we got a good deal, let's be honest.
Yeah.
You know, there was talk of him going for 40 odd million. To get him, I think we paid 3 million and then
Up front.
27.
Yeah.
It's a good deal. It is a good deal.
But you got thinking for Ramsdale, come January, is he going to be, what are they going to do? He might want to move because you can see his England career possibly going up and smoke a little bit.
Yeah.
And that puts us back in the square, we got to find a number two
We
goalkeeper.
can't afford to do that in January.
So that's going to be interesting.
I think, as much as I agree with you, Chris, in terms of, and I think Curtis probably echoes the same sentiment, I do feel slightly sorry for Ramsdale, especially the Champions League one, because listen, I want Arsenal to be ruthless, I want Mikel to be ruthless, and if that's your decision, then stick by it. You're well within your right to do so after taking us as far as you have in the last 3 years. But I just thought that first Champions League game at least, or the second one, Ramsdale will get the nod because essentially he was a big part of bringing us back into the competition. In terms of the league, not too fussed, but what I am fussed about is a couple moments when Raya, whether it's the Tottenham one, just before their first goal where he could have tipped out for a corner, he tipped it back in, albeit he makes a good save after that, and then a couple other mistakes lead to a goal. Then you have multiple times against Man City that it looked like he was, you know, putting pressure on himself, dilly-dallying a bit too long on the ball. Against Lons, you have the first goal attributed to him. So these are the things that I thought he was coming in to eradicate in terms of when we looked at Ramsdale's mistakes last year. Moments here or there. So far, I haven't seen that. We're still winning games and we're unbeaten so far. And I think the support Mikel showed, not only verbally after the City game and backing him in terms of those pressure moments, but going into the City game with him number one after the Lons mistake, I think it's pretty much certain he is our number one. Yeah. But Ramsdale's got to understand that you did the same thing to Leno once upon a time, and Leno didn't kick up a fuss. Leno didn't want to leave in January, and I don't think we're in a position to now. Someone did say to me, and I'm going to say it to you too, because this is the only way I envision potentially losing a Ramsdale in January if Brentford want him for Tony in a direct swap.
Then you say goodbye.
Then I think then that
done,
benefits both clubs. But aside from that, I wouldn't want to be left short in the goalkeeping department.
You can't lose him in January. I think, like Chris said, he's going to be, because realistically, if he's our backup goalkeeper, Pickford's going to start for England. Like, the only way you can get Pickford out is if he's playing
he's starting
week.
Anyway.
Probably is, but you know, at least if he was playing and performing, it gives him an opportunity. But I think we all know long term this situation will unravel. You're not going to have two goalkeepers at that level.
It's not like Ramsdale going to be struggling to find the club.
No, definitely not.
Man United.
Yep. Chelsea.
Bayern Munich is free.
Yeah.
He'll get a good move, maybe even Newcastle.
We'll get a good fee out of it.
We should get a good fee, for sure. If you look at Chelsea spending 70 on Kepa and United 50 on Onana, was it?
Yeah. Who's not, you know.
We should be looking at the 60 million mark, if that is the decision to be made. Now, I think there's still a lot of fighting to be done this season, and I hope, as much as, you know, it has been ruthless, and as much as it seems unfortunate against Ramsdale for this to to happen to him after what seemed like 2 very good seasons. I think he just got to keep his head screwed on and try and fight for his place back and review it come the end of the season, because like Curtis said, we're not going to hold on to 2 quality keepers for, you know, multiple seasons to come. A decision has to be made. But let's move on to someone else rather than talk about potentially a decision having to be made next summer in terms of a departure in the goalkeeping department. We made a big decision this summer in terms of an incoming into the midfield department, and that's Kai Havertz. We all sat here into the international break. We discussed his first 4 or 5 fixtures of the season. Didn't go as well, I wouldn't even say as expected, because I think a lot of people did expect it to go the way it did. It didn't go well enough for us to look at the transfer and say that was a, you know, good move. Since then, people have said he's done better. He's got a goal, albeit given to him, against Bournemouth. He's got an assist now against the defending champions, having come off the bench. Chris, Kai Havertz, where are you at this moment in time after?
With most other Arsenal fans, I'm still 50-50. I want, every time I see him, I want him to come on and do well. But as the game goes on, especially the Lons, I was getting more and more angry with him.
Yeah.
And then Smith Rowe's not getting the game, and I'm blaming him. Why is Smith Rowe playing and you're playing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And really, it shouldn't be that. But I thought he done well when he come on against Man City. It was a wonderful layoff.
Yeah.
But the thing is, everyone tells me there's a player there. It's just finding him, isn't it, really? You see what I mean?
Yeah, well, hopefully we find him soon, Chris. Curtis. Kai, 1 goal, 1 assist since the last international break. I wouldn't say he's a first team regular at the moment. I think that's up for debate, especially with Partey back. But what have you made about his recent performances?
I mean, I'm kind of in the same place I was in the last international break. Listen, there have been a couple of positive moments, the penalty and the assist was a vital assist, of course. You know, you kind of wonder, is that a better situation for him coming off the bench, 20 minutes, impact the game? If he doesn't perform, we're not going to criticise him as much. Like Chris says, when he plays in that role, you're sitting there thinking, Smith Rowe could play there, Trossard could play there, and you feel like they would affect the game more than him. We understand the politics of it. The manager's paid big money for him. He's got to justify that to everyone. He can't just throw him straight on the bench. But he's improved slightly, but he's got to do more. And I'm convinced he's better when he plays up front than in midfield. I don't see it with him in midfield, to be honest. I suppose the problem you've got is not a better striker than Jesus. Yeah. But I think for that, sometimes late in the game where you need that bit of hold-up play, you know, with his back to goal, he seems to be quite good. So he's got to do a lot more. And I think the manager's going to have a big decision to make soon of, okay, you know, people speak about Pep the first season with Grealish. After a while, he said, this guy ain't working, he's got to go on the bench. Maybe it will happen in the second season. It did happen. So for me, Havertz at the moment, I view him more as a squad player than a starter at the moment.
But you, Chris, prefer him up front than in the 8th position?
I think he does look better up front. There was that wonderful moment in Lons, I thought he was going to do a Van Persie. Do you remember in the game?
All over the top.
If that had gone in, that would have changed his whole attitude. I don't know, I'll tell it's right, when we're not like Man City, we can't waste £65 million on a player.
Yeah.
So we need him.
It's got to work.
You know,
at some point, it's got to work. But Arteta did mention when he first came in that he's a signing for the midfield. Mm-hmm. But one thing I will give Arteta is early on, whether it be the Community Shield where he started him up top, or whether it be in the league where he dropped to the bench, and now we see him sometimes in the starting 11, sometimes off the bench. I think that's Arteta realising that he hasn't hit the ground running and he's going to need to do something about it. So he's tried to tweak little things here and there to help accommodate for him. I don't think it's happened yet, but he has got a goal and he's got a massive assist now that hopefully means after international break there's no more talk about a lack of confidence. You know, he's on big money, he's got a goal, he's got an assist, he helped us beat the defending champions. You know, he's got a song. You know, whether we agree with that or not.
I like that song actually. But
the down the drain bit, that's not great. Sure.
Perhaps we should sing it in German.
Well, to be honest, I guess that song works both ways. If he does work out, we can sing it. If it doesn't work out, we can sing it. So maybe that's the purpose of the song. But
I think what we got to find out is what happens to him at Chelsea.
Yeah.
I need to find a Chelsea fan. What was he like when he joined Chelsea? He scored the winner in the Champions League final, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
But something must have happened, because I don't know if you noticed, when he scored that penalty against Bournemouth, he looked like he was ready to cry.
Yeah. He didn't look like he wanted to celebrate.
Odegaard was pushing him.
Even
like,
the
"Go
fist
and
pump wasn't
celebrate."
it? It was just a.
And I noticed all the Arsenal players did just run around him, didn't they? So he did. I thought, that looked strange.
I think the Premier League, because you come out of Germany at a young age, this big player, everyone loves you. You come to the Prem, it's quite unforgiving, isn't it? The Premier League. If you don't work out, they're criticising you. He looks like his confidence is very low to me.
But
that was the worry with signing him. You're signing a player that ultimately was out of form. So Arteta obviously thinks he revitalised Xhaka, we would say. You know, Xhaka looked like he was finished. Last season he was really good.
Yeah.
He probably thinks Havertz's talent level and his age, he can get something out of him, but it's just how much patience are we going to have with him?
To be honest with you, I don't have patience in that position, because I had patience enough with Xhaka.
Yeah.
You know, I just thought once we finally move on from Xhaka, we will get better in that position. But I'm in a position where I kind of miss what it was. forget what it is.
You could say, you could say it's an Nketiah situation, part 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, even Ian Wright's piping up saying Arsenal have got to buy Tony, they got to do. I don't know what Nketiah thinks about when he's reading that.
Hey, to be honest with you, Nketiah, we can move on to Eddie Nketiah for a brief moment. What does he think reading that? I couldn't care less, because over the years he's read a lot of positive stuff about him, whether it be from Raya or other ex-players or current players or the current manager, a new contract, the number 14. He's had everything fall for him in the last 2 years, so there ain't no lack of confidence excuse there, in my opinion. As much as even with Havertz, I'll use that loosely. You can understand he's coming from a situation that didn't suit him well into this one. I guess patience is required. With Eddie, not so much. I think patience is more wearing thin in that department. So let's move on to Tony then. Is Tony the one we won in January? There's 2 ways I look at it, and I want to ask both of you if you agree or disagree. If we're in with a shout for a Premier League title, then go by Ivan Toney. If we're not in with a shout come January for a Premier League title, and by that I mean maybe 8 to 10 points off Manchester City or Liverpool or whoever's top of the league, hold tight and maybe buy a Victor Osimhen in the summer or an Evan Ferguson in the summer. What do you think about, how do we play this striking situation? Because a lot of, I like Tony, but you take away his penalties, he's not he's a 20 goal a year striker because of the penalties, or he banged 20. Jesus could pretty much do the same with penalties. So is there a need to force it through in January if we're not in with a shout for the Premier League? Or?
Well, I think we will be in with a shout. So then you've got to think, how much do they want? Will they accept certain players in exchange?
Hope so. Yeah. We've got a couple.
Everyone's saying, I'll throw Eddie and money. So I think you'd have to go for it.
Yeah.
But the other 2 boys you mentioned, they are top quality. It's going to be a massive gamble, isn't it? And thankfully, I ain't got to take it.
Yeah, well, hopefully it works out for us, Curtis.
Yeah.
Tony in January or Osimhen or Ferguson in the summer?
The problem with those 2, the other 2 you mentioned, Ferguson I think is a massive talent, but at the moment he's only potential. And I think he'd cost big money. Brighton don't sell cheap. Osimhen, I think every club that needs a striker will go for him.
And he's wonderful.
And he is a brilliant player, but I think we would have to smash our transfer record and clubs will offer him huge wages. I think his agent was saying he got offered like 900,000 a week from Saudi, so he's going to use that to try and get a big wage. For me, you get Tony done in January, because I think we need more than one player in January. The likes of Neto or somebody like. You could probably get Tony and Neto for what Osimhen would cost by himself. Yeah, true. And I think we need more than one player. Me and Chris were speaking off camera. I just think Tony for me is just made for Arsenal. I think he'd be a fan favourite. He's strong. He's aggressive. I know people talk about penalties, but penalties are not a given, are they? You've still got to put them in the back of the net. And you've heard him speaking publicly about, wanting to come to Arsenal. And when you look at the way Saliba handled Haaland the other day, and Haaland's probably the best number 9 in the world, you think about what Tony did to Saliba last year. Won 10 out of 10 aerial duels against him and scored, although it was offside.
It's a good shot.
I haven't seen many strikers do that to him, so I think he
And the same to Ben White a couple of years back.
And I see a bit of Ian Wright. Says Ian Wright come in the game late.
Yeah.
You know, he come to the Arsenal. He wanted to play. I see a bit of Ian Wright, Tony situation.
Yeah, he's got a soft spot for us for sure.
He has. I mean, I was speaking to Kevin Campbell yesterday. He was saying when he was at Arsenal, right, he walked through the door and he was like, I got to step my game up here. Because some people say, oh, if you sign Tony, what happens to Jesus? What happens?
Yeah.
We can't worry about that anymore. We've got to just think about the club and what's best for the club now. We're trying to catch Man City. They're the best team on the planet. So we have to keep stepping forward. And I think we haven't signed a game changer in January for a number of years. Or probably Aubameyang was the last one, actually.
Yeah. Perhaps he's getting ready to bring Tony in by playing Jesus wide right a lot lately.
Maybe.
That's a shot because I did see Saliba comment under Jesus' picture saying my winger.
Wow.
I didn't know whether that's tongue in cheek that he doesn't like being on the wing or whether
I've got to say, everyone, all the plaudits were given out of Rice, Saliba, but I thought he was really good in that position.
I thought he played
against a very good defender. Because if there's one young defender that can get compared to a Saliba or has been compared, rightly so, over the last couple of years, it's Gvardiol. And Gvardiol was very much onto Jesus, and Jesus managed to hold it up well. Listen, Gvardiol had a good game as well.
Yeah.
But Jesus found himself in the right back position, left back position, just in front of the defence. He was working so hard. And rightly so, we move on to the Man City game because that was the last result. What does that Man City game do for us? If I was to sit here and say, are we going to win the Premier League title, has thoughts changed off the back of that win?
Not most Arsenal fans. You say it to yourself, but you're not going to shout it out too loud. But as this is an Arsenal channel, and Arsenal fans are looking at it here, I think that's given us a massive boost. There's a long way to go.
100%.
But the highlight of the whole match was Saliba, when Haaland was going through and he went bang.
Yeah.
Oh,
sat him down.
Yeah,
sat him down. Guys, has your thoughts changed on? Because I think prediction prior to the season was second, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was.
Because mine was second too, and I can't lie. Chris is right. There's a long way to go, but this win is another one of those mental obstacles. Not only for the players and the managers, for fans as well.
Yeah.
I need to see us do this before thinking we can do what we need to do, which is win.
Yeah, because winning a Community Shield game on penalties is good, but you feel like you've got to beat them in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like we were saying, it's the first time that I feel like we're starting to irritate Man City. And that makes me think, you know what, we're getting closer to them. We're starting to bother them, you know what I mean? They're kicking off after games. You could see they're not used to losing the way they came off the pitch. The amount of times we've lost to them and we've just walked off the pitch head down, now they've got to walk off. So for me, it gave me a belief that we can win it. But I still think a lot will come down to what happens in January. The fact that, you know, AFCON, that's part A&L Nenny, Tommy Asu to the Asia Cup, Timber will still be out. So that's at least 4 players not available in January. We're getting a few little injuries at the moment as well. So I think last year the January window wasn't quite good enough. I don't think we really went to that next level. I know financial fair play could be a problem in January because we've spent a lot of money. We might have to sell 1 or 2, but I think the club have got to try their best to maybe fast forward a summer signing to January just to give Mikel that chance.
Yeah, I think it's going to be needed, especially when you mentioned the AFCON players and our current injury problems.
So even though we've spent all this money, we're still not complete as a squad, aren't we?
No.
It just shows you've always got to keep going.
To be honest, I think we could have been a little bit more ruthless in the summer. Emil Smith-Rowe's situation, maybe an Eddie Nketiah, Reece Nelson's. Yep, there you go.
Maybe Havertz, you could have spent that 65 million elsewhere.
Yeah, the thing is, I know Man United aren't doing very well at the moment, Turkish, but the boy up front for them.
Yeah, Highland.
What a player.
Yeah, he looks good.
And he cost 65 million.
Same.
I thought the same thing, Chris.
And I'll tell you something, imagine him in our team. Oh.
Imagine the options you have up front, Jesus or Highland. Very different, but you can see both of them fitting perfectly in a sense.
I was doing the stats thing in the summer. I was like looking at his numbers, 9 goals. I thought,
but when you see him,
watch him, and
that goal against Galatasaray, the first one, where he picks it up at the halfway line and he literally just tunnel vision, running into the box and beats the defender. Something we need, to be honest.
He's in the wrong team.
He is. But they've just bought him, so there's nothing we can do about that. Last question before we wrap it up, because it's close to being wrapped. Have we hit 1,000 likes yet? That's the question to you guys and girls out there. Make sure we've hit 1,000 likes by now, because it's the last question. And the last question is, anything to be worried about them lot over there?
Well, Tottenham.
Yeah. See, Chris is...
They've got a good manager, and I've said that 3 or 4 months ago. I think he's one of the best bosses they've ever going to have for years. But who have they played? The 3 worst teams ever been promoted. The referee in the PGMO gave them the game against Liverpool. They played a half-fit Arsenal in the second half at the Emirates. So, and basically, you won about us getting injuries. If they get injuries, they're in a worse situation.
So Chris, nothing to worry about.
Nothing.
No, listen, they've started the season well. You know, the managers give them a bit of a new lease of life. When you've had Conte and Mourinho,
Shackles are off.
Do you know what I mean? He said, go and attack, enjoy yourself. But listen, we're looking up. You know, the only team I'm focusing on is Man City. We need to get past them. I'm not really. I think
Liverpool.
Yeah, to be fair, I think Liverpool are the bigger danger, to be honest. I think once the season starts to unravel, I think City, Arsenal and Liverpool are the best 3 teams.
And I think Anfield and Etihad are the next obstacles to try and tick off, especially after the Anfield game last season. Where at 2-0 I thought, shit, we're actually going to do this. And at 2-2 I thought, maybe not. So here we are.
Being fair, it was the Southampton and West. We shouldn't go. We're bringing Southampton and West Ham killed us.
That doubled and tripled down on the poor results, and then it was Man City. The rest is history. But hopefully, people, this season's very different. It started quite different. 8 games in, 6 wins, 2 draws. Currently unbeaten, sitting second, just behind Tottenham on goals scored. Obviously, Tottenham scoring 2 more goals than us, and we've just beat Man City at the Emirates, and we move. After the international break, Chelsea away. We're going to discuss a look forward next. So make sure you hit the like button on this one, and make sure you look out for the next one, where I'm going to be joined by Laurie and Dan Potts, and I look forward to the next fixtures up until the next international break and the bare minimum expectations. I just want to say big up to Curtis. Make sure you subscribe to Curtis Shaw TV, people. I'm going to put the link in the description, but if you put Curtis Shaw on YouTube search engine, you'll come up first one there. Make sure you subscribe, and big up Chris Hudson. No channel, but the Supporters Club is his home. So big up Chris Hudson as usual, and love for the love, people. Give us your thoughts in the comment section. We discussed a hell of a lot. Is it our year? Raya over Ramsdale, Havertz turning up, and I look forward onto the next games. Laurie and Dan Potts up next. Love for the love, people. Hit the like button. We're out. Peace.